This is continuing coverage and the trial of Richard Merritt from the Hidden Killers podcast on the True Crime Today network.
All right, so we got the all clear from Decatur Fire. So is there anything else we need to address before we bring in the jury?
Your Honor, I did send the court and the defense an email last night regarding sort of a substitution that we have. Dr. Cunningham, who was supposed to fly in early this morning, contracted COVID, and we consulted with her supervisor and confirmed that she is at that bill. She is not able to come in likely until next week. So what we have done is spoken to Dr. Bruce Wayner with the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office. We actually met with him last week. He has been reviewing the entire file in this case and has performed a peer review of Dr. Cunningham's work. We would ask him to, we plan on calling him to testify as to his findings based on Dr. Cunningham's report, photos, the evidence, and so on and so forth. Your Honor, we also plan on calling the medical examiner's office investigator, who's also the custodian of records there. His name is Jess Dillard, simply for the purpose of admitting the photographs and other records from the case. As well as investigator Amber Winslow, who responded to the crime scene and collected the knife that was removed from Ms. Merritt's face. Yes, I know.
Judge, the state did inform us yesterday. It actually came up previously, as the court's well aware. The state did inform us on yesterday.
Well, no. Court's not well aware of it. I know that there were some issues with getting the doctor flown in. And I don't see an email, so maybe, I don't know if it was maybe sent to the wrong address.
I sent it to Campbell.
Okay. I know we're in the home stretch now, but if I would prefer that you also send it to me so that I can review it as well.
Would you like me to send it to you now?
Sure. Go ahead, Mr. Queen. Sorry.
So, Judge, like weeks ago, there was concern with Dr. Cunningham, and the state reached out to me then, and obviously gave our position. We talked about Zoom, et cetera, and we expressed our position to the state. The state did go through efforts.
You expressed your what? Did you say opposition?
At the time, yes.
Okay.
But yesterday, the state did reach out to our office. The state did provide some case law. We did review the case law. So at this time, I will say that on a preliminary basis, we believe that the law may support having another medical examiner come in and testify under Georgia law. There are certain foundational steps which need to be completed before that testimony comes in. It is our understanding that the state intends to call multiple witnesses in order to satisfy those foundational steps. So, as it stands right now, Your Honor, we are not objecting to this idea that someone else may be testifying on behalf of Dr. Cunningham. There are, like I said, foundational steps the state must complete. If the state fails to complete those, then obviously we will be objecting in the appropriate time.
Okay. Would you, if you haven't already, Ms. Pott, go ahead and share those cases? I'm familiar with the case law, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yes.
That you shared with the defense.
Yes, and they were in the email that I sent. I just forwarded it to Your Honor.
Okay.
But I wanted to, the first, let's see, I don't know if these are in order. No.
Let me ask this first. Mr. Queen, now that we know what witnesses are going to testify, did you need any additional time to speak to the witnesses before they're called?
Well, unfortunately, Judge, thanks to the little time break we had, we did have an opportunity to speak to those witnesses.
Okay, good.
So we did not need any time to speak to the witnesses. The cases which are, I believe, in Ms. Pott's hand are the ones which were forwarded to us. We did review those. We also reviewed some other cases inside and outside of Georgia. So if she was put on the record, that's fine, Judge. We are well aware of the case law issue.
Okay.
Would you like me to put those on the record, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Okay. The first is Clark versus State. It's a Georgia Supreme Court case, 296, Georgia 543. It's a 2015 case. In that case, the Supreme Court held that it was not error to allow a medical examiner who was not present during an autopsy to give an opinion as to the victim's cause of death. Naji versus State, that's spelled N-A-J-I. Again, it's a Supreme Court of Georgia case, 300, Georgia 659. It's a 2017 opinion. In that case, the court held that the testimony of a medical examiner who did not perform the autopsy did not violate the Confrontation Clause. And in Stewart versus State, that's a Court of Appeals case. Citation is 356, Georgia Act 364. It's a 2020 case. This case does not involve a medical examiner, but it does deal with expert witnesses. And in that case, the Court of Appeals held that the trial court did not err by allowing a forensic biologist who did not conduct a former coworker's analysis of a DNA sample to testify of her peer review of the former coworker's findings. And do you need copies, Mr. Queen?
I do not, thank you.
Your Honor, I do have some copies that I can present to the court or the court reporter. Would you like these?
Yes, if you give them Ms. Campbell. Okay. All right, so seems like we're all on the same page at this point. Is there anything else?
Not from the state.
Mr. Queen?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, you can bring your.
What's that? Open the PowerPoint first. Open the
You all may be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you all had an enjoyable extended weekend. I want to apologize for the delay. When we were about to get started this morning, we started to smell something that smelled like it was electrical, something burning in the courtroom. So we wanted to make sure before we brought you out, we did contact the Decatur Fire Department that came use their equipment to see if there were any hot spots anywhere. They didn't find anything, and they gave us the all clear. So that's why we've been delayed this morning. So I apologize for the inconvenience, but thank you for your patience. All right, we're ready to continue on with testimony. The state will call us next witness.
The state calls Investigator Jess Dillard.
I do.
Good morning, Investigator Dillard. Would you please state your name and occupation for the jury?
Jess Dillard. I'm a senior investigator with the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office.
Okay. What does the medical examiner's office do?
Basically, we establish the cause and manner of death on any suspicious or violent deaths.
And how is that done? Can you just give a general description of the process?
Absolutely. Generally, it starts with our notification, either from the police department or hospitals, anybody else in authority that's involved, they'll notify us. Basically, they'll notify the investigators. We will go out to the scene and gather the information that our forensic pathologists will need to assist them in establishing a cause and manner of death.
Okay. Would you pull the microphone closer to your face just a little bit? All right. And are records kept during the course of the investigation and autopsy?
Yes.
All right. And are those records kept in the ordinary course of business?
That's correct. Yes.
Are you the custodian of records for the medical examiner's office?
I am.
And are records kept for each autopsy and investigation that's performed?
Yes, they are.
How are they kept?
They're in a digital case file. It's a program called Medical Legal Death Investigation.
Right. And are they labeled in any way?
They are.
And how so?
So when the case is first created, labels are made on a printer, little stickers. So anything that comes in that may be evidence or any photographs that we take, we attach that label to the photograph.
And does each case have a unique number?
That's correct, yes.
I think you just said that. I apologize. I'm just clarifying. Did the medical examiner's office perform any investigation with regard to the death of Shirley Merritt?
Yes.
And was an autopsy performed?
Yes.
Was a case number given to that case?
Yes.
All right. Do you recall what that was?
Not offhand. I've got tens of thousands of cases running through my head, so the specific number is not coming to me.
Would it refresh your recollection if I were to show you a photograph from
Yes.
that autopsy? You could just tell the jury what the case number was that was given by the medical examiner's
Sure.
office in this case.
So the case number was 19-0188. The 19 reflects the year 2019, and 0188 reflects the number that was called, or that's the death report number. We had 188 cases. This was the 188th one.
And have you had the chance to review the records that were kept under that case number prior to coming to court today?
As far as reviewing, I just made sure they were there.
All right. I'm going to show you what have been marked as state's exhibits. And these are a little bit out of order, but 59, 61, 62, 63, 65, 66, 64, 67, and 68. Would you look at these and tell me if these actually are photographs that were kept in that case file in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, so reviewing these photographs, they're all labeled with the appropriate case number and information reflecting this specific case.
Were these photographs that were taken during the autopsy of Shirley Merritt on February 3rd of 2019?
I believe they are. They also include the date. The exam was February 4th, 2019.
And who performed the exam?
Dr. Cunningham?
Was Dr. Cunningham an employee with the medical examiner's office?
She was.
Where is she now?
I believe she's in Arkansas.
And was she able to come to court today?
I have no idea.
Your Honor, this time I move to admit the exhibits that previously listed. I apologize. Again, these are out of order. 61, 68, 67, 64, 66, 65, 63, 62, and 59.
Did you include 64 or 69?
Yes, both of those.
69.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I said
69.
59.
Okay.
59. And yes, 64 is one of those photographs. 69, I misspoke. It's 59.
Okay. Right. Any objection? No objection. Admitted.
No further questions.
Good morning. Just briefly, you did not take the photographs that have been entered, correct?
I did not.
You were just the record keeper?
Correct.
And had you viewed these photographs prior to today?
I did.
And was that earlier last week?
Yes.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Any witness to excuse?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfgerber?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, investigator. Call your next witness.
The state calls Dr. Bruce Weiner.
Morning, Your Honor. I do. State my name? Yes. My name is Dr. Bruce Weiner, W-A-I-N-E-R.
How are you employed?
I'm a associate medical examiner at the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office.
Right. What does a medical examiner do?
A medical examiner investigates deaths in which the manner of death has not been determined, and also the possibility of either accidents, homicides, suicides, and we also investigate sudden unexplained infant deaths.
What kind of training and experience do you have that qualifies you to be a medical examiner?
A medical examiner has to have a medical degree, having gone to medical school, and then having gone through a residency in anatomic pathology, and then undergone a specific fellowship in forensic pathology.
And where are your degrees from, and what are those degrees?
I have a MD and PhD degree from the University of Chicago.
And in what?
Pardon?
In what? What are your degrees in?
Medicine, MD, medical doctor, and PhD, Doctor of Philosophy in experimental pathology, which was actually immunology in those days.
And where was your residency?
My residency was at the University of Chicago Hospital and Clinics.
How long have you been employed as a medical examiner?
I have been working as a forensic pathologist since 2010, and I have been working at the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office since August of 2022.
And have you, I understand that you've you've taught before as well, is that correct?
I worked
for various universities?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury those positions?
Yes. After I completed my residency at the University of Chicago, I was invited to join the faculty, and I rose to the rank of full professor with tenure. Subsequent to that, I was chairman of the pathology department at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine in Bronx, New York. And following that, I had an endowed professorship at Emory University School of Medicine.
How many autopsies do you think you've performed in the course of your career?
It would be hard to count, but it would have been probably maybe in the high hundreds.
And have you testified as an expert in the field of forensic pathology in the past?
Yes, I have.
Can you say how many times?
I would say multiple times, probably close to 50 or more.
Your Honor, at this time I'd move to tender Dr. Weiner as an expert in forensic pathology.
Any objection? No. He will be so recognized.
Dr. Weiner, if you could just briefly explain to the jury what an autopsy is.
Yes. An autopsy is a post-mortem examination of a body. Post-mortem meaning after death. And there are two components. The first component is what's called the external examination, where we document the normal external features of the decedent, and we also document any injuries that may be present. These this documentation is placed on diagrams. I usually use a diagram for the normal features of the individual and another diagram to document any injuries that may be identified. The second part is the internal examination, where we remove the internal organs, weigh them, examine them, document their weights and features, and obviously if there are any abnormal features, we document that. And in cases where we need to perform a more detailed examination or on any organ, we will take a sample of tissue and submit it for microscopic analysis. At the time of the autopsy, we also collect blood to be sent out for toxicological analysis. And routinely we will do, at least in some cases, urine screens for the presence of drug. And in some cases we'll take fluid from the eye, that's called vitreous fluid, and send that for analysis of electrolytes.
Did you perform the autopsy on the body of Shirley Merritt on February 4th of 2019?
No, I did not.
Who did?
Dr. Christy Cunningham.
All right. Is Dr. Cunningham currently employed as a medical examiner with the DeKalb County ME's office?
No, she is not.
Okay. Do you know if she's currently employed as a medical examiner?
My understanding is that she is employed as a medical examiner in the state of Arkansas.
Is it common when you are working as a medical examiner in a medical examiner's office that you review autopsies performed by other doctors?
Yes.
Okay, and is it common in your practice to testify as to your opinion regarding an autopsy that you did not perform?
Yes.
And in doing so, what records do you review?
What reference?
Records. Do you
Records,
review?
excuse me. I review the report itself. I will review any additional studies that were performed, for example, perhaps toxicology. And I will review all of the records, all of the photographs that were taken, both at the scene of the death and also during the autopsy.
Did you, in fact, review the records that were taken and the reports written regarding the autopsy on Shirley Merritt?
Yes, I did.
And did you have the opportunity of making your own observations and conclusions with regard to the injuries found on Miss Merritt's body?
Yes, I did.
All right. I want to discuss those injuries with you. Was an anatomical sketch prepared by Dr. Cunningham in the course of her performing that autopsy?
Yes.
Okay. And is that an item that you reviewed?
Yes.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 58. If you could just have a look at that. And
Yes.
would it assist you in explaining the injuries in your findings if you were to be able to look at and show the jury a copy of that anatomical drawing?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would move to admit State's Exhibit 58 and 58A, which is just a larger copy of that, for demonstrative purposes only.
Any objection? Admitted.
Barely.
All right. And Dr. Weiner, you actually have a copy of that exhibit. If you would like to, I left it on the witness stand. If you would like to have a look at that while you're testifying.
If I may, are you going to ask me to explain the various injuries?
I'll point out certain injuries and
Okay,
we'll
I'm
discuss
sorry.
them. Were there injuries to Mrs. Merritt's back, as we see here on 58A?
Yes.
And can you describe what those injuries appear to be based on your review of the case?
Yes, they are stab wounds.
I'm going to show the jury State's Exhibit 65, Your Honor. I don't think it's
You're listening to the trial of Richard Merritt from the Hidden Killers podcast on the True Crime Today network. Press subscribe now and get ad-free episodes by upgrading to our premium experience through Apple Podcasts. More next.